We're getting toward the very shaky ground of the top and the fall from it. I mean, historically, this is usually the time when we get the top. Between 1 year and 18 months after the halving. We've never had any financial asset move as fast as Bitcoin has.
So you don't think we're going to like 200K this year?
No, we might, but I think there's a good chance we go over 200K.
천재적인 경제학자 사이페딘 아모스는 비트코인의 혁명가로 여러 저서와 함께 강연을 하고 있습니다. 법정 화폐는 무너지고 있고 비트코인만이 앞으로 유일한 화폐 수단이 될 것이라고 얘기하죠. 그가 쓴 저서는 베스트셀러에 올라 있으며 스트래티지의 CEO인 마이클 세일러도 그가 쓴 저서를 보고 비트코인을 매수했다고 얘기했습니다. 비트코인을 철학적이고 경제학적인 관점에서 지켜보며 현재 법정 화폐 가치보다 비트코인이 뛰어나다고 얘기하며 비트코인이 미래의 유일한 화폐 수단이 될 수도 있다고 얘기합니다.
Some people are talking about the US potentially moving back to a neutral reserve asset being gold.
Yeah.
Not Bitcoin yet. What do you think about all of that and how the monetary system in real time is actually changing?
I doubt it. I doubt that we're going to get a move to gold. I think governments just don't like gold. They're heavily propagandized against gold, and they heavily propagandize their populations against gold. So, I mean, yeah, it would be obviously an improvement over the dollar if we were to have a truly neutral international monetary system that could not be produced by any one particular government. But it doesn't look like it's happening. And all these BRICS countries, they keep talking about it, or they keep making noises about it. Or really, it's mostly Westerners who, gold bugs, who just keep projecting their dreams and wishes upon the BRICS and just imagining that they're going to pull this off, but they are not going to pull it off. The dollar is the biggest, most liquid market. It's the easiest one to use, and you don't have a liquid market infrastructure. You don't have market infrastructure to make gold liquid on an international scale. That's what's ultimately missing. So there isn't a market for the clearance of gold, and that's a practical thing that needs to be built, and it's not something that you can just mandate with a press release. You want to have a very fluid, smooth, functional, cheap, reliable mechanism for moving gold from one country to the other. And these countries need to be building these systems. And they can be built easily, and they can be built cheaply, but they're not building them. So I don't think it's happening. And I think if they start thinking about building them practically, if they start really thinking about gold in a practical sense, all that's going to happen is they're going to then truly understand the value of Bitcoin.
So you don't think that they could potentially revalue the gold that the US currently has to today's market prices to maybe do an accounting trick essentially to address the deficit, or no?
No, it doesn't make the difference. I mean, the items on the asset side of the US government balance sheet are essentially worthless. It doesn't matter how much assets they have. They just have a money printer, and that's the only asset they need. So it doesn't matter. They can value the gold or the Bitcoin at $1 each or $1 trillion each. It's all it's all baloney on their balance sheet. Ultimately, they've got the money printer, and as long as the money printer works, then they don't need assets.
What is the biggest headwind facing Bitcoin right now? Because we do have a lot of positive momentum when it comes to the regulatory and the political forces, but we're still, I mean, some people are disappointed that we haven't hit like 200,000 and that the early majority is really not there. So what's preventing that for Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really think there is any one particular thing that stands out as a headwind, because it's hard to identify a headwind on the fastest thing that has ever existed. We've never had any financial asset move as fast as Bitcoin has. So, I think the question is, what are all the turbochargers that are pushing it so quickly? That's a more appropriate question. So, but on the other hand, you can kind of think, yeah, I mean, once you get into Bitcoin, once you get it, there's that immediate feeling that, oh shit, this is going to do a 1,000x over the next week, because everybody's going to find out. Because if I can get it, then everybody's going to get it, and everybody's going to do it. And so that doesn't happen. Every noob comes in, they get overexcited, and then they learn to lower their time preference and start, planting the garden of the Bitcoin world that they want to see, rather than just expecting it all to materialize within a few minutes or hours or days or weeks. So if I were to think of something, I just think sadly people just aren't that bright, and people are heavily propagandized to believe in government as the source of money, and they're heavily propagandized to believe that government dictates what money is, and people love their chains, and people grow used to their chains, and they cannot conceive of a world without their chains, and they'd rather laugh at the person who's telling them that they could get rid of their chains than to try and actually move and realize that their chains are actually in their mind, because it's really actually very straightforward to get rid of your chains. Since Bitcoin has been invented, that's it. You've got the key. You can just unlock them and move on with your life.
Well, it's so crazy to see the complacency, even in Wall Street. I mean, this is the best performing asset of the last decade, and there are still firms that are so terrified to allocate to Bitcoin, or their charters prevent them from allocating to Bitcoin. Everyone is like terrified, looking for permission from places like Larry Fink and BlackRock. What is your take on sort of the institutionalization of Bitcoin, and do you think it's a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a... there's no good and bad in Bitcoin. It's
Inevitable.
It's inevitable, and also it's not up to me to decide what other people do with their Bitcoin. So I can't really think of it in a sense of whether I can think of it as good or bad per se. I have my own personal opinions, which is I'd rather not have Wall Street banks be buying Bitcoin as a matter of personal preference. I'd rather a lot of other people around the world manage to get all of these cheap sub 100k Bitcoins, but I can't decide who buys Bitcoin.
What do you think about the corporate treasuries? I mean, because there's so many popping up, and
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about the next bear market, because I don't think that all of them can survive, and maybe some might take on too much leverage, and that could be worrisome.
Yeah, I mean, all the leverage is building up just in time for the top and the bust. I mean, I just hope my message out there to everybody who's into this business is Bitcoin has done -70 and -80% before, and it can do it again. If your business model can't handle a -80% Bitcoin drawdown, rework your business model right now, because I think we're getting toward the very shaky ground of the top and the fall from it. So, I mean, historically, this is usually the time when we get the top, between 1 year and 18 months after the halving.
But
Historically,
we're actually underperforming the last halving cycles. Like we should be up higher in terms of the price.
well,
so-
yeah, if you measure from the time of the halving, but the difference is that usually the bull market would have started just before the halving, but now we had a significant bull market well before the halving. So that's why it looks like we're underperforming since the halving. But since the bottom, we were up from 15k to 109. That's not inconsiderable. 110, I think we hit, is the highest. Or 111, I think.
112. Yeah.
112, yeah, I think 112 was the highest. So 115 to 15 to 112. That's sevenfold.
So you don't think we're going to like 200K this year?
No, we might, but I think there's a good chance we go over 200k. But I think we're getting to that point where it's going to be very volatile both ways. Vertical side, that vertical part of the curve where it goes up
The
a lot.
blow off top.
Yes,
kind
the
of
blow
thing?
off top where
We
it
never
goes
really
up a
got
lot
that.
and then it crashes.
I mean,
Yeah, we didn't get it last time because we kind of had two, and then there
Yeah.
was the China minor ban in the middle.
Yeah.
But realistically, still, it was 12 to 18 months after the halving where the top happened.
Dang. Well,
So-
what about the macro side? I mean, don't you think there's like a big print that's incoming, because there's going to be enough tremors in the financial markets and the treasury market that they're going to have to come in and liquefy, and that's going to be great for Bitcoin?
Maybe. But people have been saying that for a very long time. People have been expecting that for a long time. It may happen, but ultimately, I generally still fall back on my thesis that Bitcoin marches to its own drumbeat. And yes, I think the liquidity stuff matters a lot, but it matters a lot more in the short term. And I guess it matters in kind of also in terms of drawing the long-term magnitudes. Probably it matters, but I think ultimately it marches to its own drumbeat.
사이페딘 아모스는 달러는 여전히 가장 크고 유동성이 풍부한 시장이며 금을 국제적으로 유동적으로 만들 시장 인프라가 부족하다고 지적합니다. 역사적으로 비트코인은 반감기 이후 1년에서 18개월 사이에 최고점을 찍는 경향이 있지만 이번 사이클은 이전과 다른 양상을 보이고 있다고 합니다. 현재 시장은 양방향으로 변동성이 커질 수 있으며 수직 상승 후 급락하는 블로우 오프 톱이 나타날 가능성도 있다고 경고합니다. 또한 비트코인이 11만 2천 달러까지 상승한 것은 적지 않은 성장이지만 20만 달러 이상으로 상승할 가능성도 있다고 얘기하고 있죠. 우리는 객관적인 시각으로 투자를 해야 하고 지금 당장만 보고 투자할 게 아니라 미래를 보고 투자를 해야겠죠. 010-2472-0429 전화번호로 탈겜이 적어서 문자 보내주시면 2025년 비트코인과 코인 시장에 대한 분석, 정보들 공유해드리겠습니다. 현재 우리에게 중요한 것은 이러한 정보를 어떻게 활용할 것인가입니다. 지금까지 영상 시청해주셔서 감사하고요. 다음에 더 좋은 영상으로 찾아뵙겠습니다. 감사합니다.